Our presentation is about a social dilemma. My name is Jahdon, and I'm going to start off the presentation for today. The topic for this presentation was heavily inspired by the Netflix documentary titled The Social Dilemma, and it came out in 2020, but it's still extremely relevant to how technology affects society today. I doubt our 15-minute presentation is going to do this documentary justice, so watch it on your own time, but without further ado, I'm going to cover the first of three broad topics that are discussed in this documentary, and that is the addiction to social media. Here are some experts that frequently talk in the documentary, and I'm going to be mentioning their names a few times in the presentation, so I just thought I'd introduce them and why they're relevant. Tristan Harris was a former design ethicist for Google. Joe Tassano was a former design consultant for Google. Jeff Seibert was an executive at Twitter. And Dr. Anna Lemke is the director of addiction medicine at Stanford University's School of Medicine. The questionable business model that's subscribed to by most social media companies is introduced to us by Tristan Harris in the documentary. And he outlines the business model's three goals: engaging users, growing activity, and monetizing. Engaging users means driving up an individual's usage time and keeping them on the platform for as long as possible. Growing activity means getting a user to come back and inviting his or her friends to do the same. Monetizing means advertising to make as much money as possible while doing the first steps. This image on the slide is actually a still from the documentary. And the three people in the futuristic room personify the AI that's on the other side of the screen when we're using social media. The blue figure in the middle of the screen is supposed to be a predictive model of the human that is being poked at by this algorithm. So every time a concept is explained by the experts in the documentary, this skit will play and dramatize that concept or explain what its results might be in the real world. And over time, these three people get better at constructing an accurate image of a human being. And this is supposed to represent how the AIs and social media, the algorithm, is constantly getting better at finding out what you like the most, what gets you to click on things most, and all in the name of getting these three goals achieved. And these three goals are achieved with persuasive technology. And the use of persuasive technology leads to addiction in most cases because it's designed to hack our psychology and our brains, according to Tristan Harris. The first persuasive technology that I'm going to go over today is the pull to refresh feature. I'm sure we're all familiar with the pull to refresh feature. You pull down the screen to get new results. And it's that simple step right there is the reason why Joe Tassano says that this feature uses a psychology method called positive intermittent reinforcement. Tristan Harris further explains that the unexpected nature of anticipating whether or not you're going to get a good result or a bad result is very much similar to how slot machines in Las Vegas work. And Harris lastly explains that this action and reward system creates a programmed habit. They'll get users to get on their phones, exercise that habit frequently, and just remain on the platform, pulling down, getting the results, pulling down results. It's an effective way to keep users mindlessly engaged. The next persuasive technology that's used is tagging. So when a social media friend is tagged, they receive a notification saying so, but that notification does not contain the photo that they were tagged in. Now, if you're on the lock screen of your cellular device, or if you've expanded the notification bar, then you'll see something similar to what I have on the right, a notification saying that you've been tagged. If you're in the application, I think you'll see like a small photo on the right of the notification bar. But the obscure picture and this vague message is never really enough, so people naturally are going to end up going to the application to see the post they were tagged in. And this is by design. Jeff Seibert and Tristan Harris explain that social medias love the idea of tagging because it gets users to open the application and thus growing activity. And the last persuasive technology that's officially touched on in this documentary is the ellipses. In one of the skits that plays out, one of the AI people in that futuristic room says, throw up an ellipses to make sure our user is still engaged in this text conversation. And that makes sense because I'm pretty sure before this feature existed, people would put down their phones. But now, with this uh, ever changing ellipses that shows someone is typing, I'm sure people now stay on the platform a whole lot more than they did before this existed. And that's just another effective way of keeping people indefinitely engaged. There are a few more honorable mentions for persuasive technology that's not really mentioned in this documentary, but still are relevant. Infinite scrolling is a feature that replaced, load more in pagination, and pagination just means, like how on Google there's like page 1, page 2, page 3. And so anyway, infinite scroll just allows users to kind of do the same thing that pull refresh does. Look for that next best thing, the next best burst of entertainment, and they just scroll mindlessly and end the cycle for that new big hit that's going to entertain them. The like button is another persuasive technology that I think needs to be mentioned. A lot of studies show that teens are constantly trying to build their self-image and seek out approval for doing that. And the way they get their approval is through likes and hearts on their posts. Lastly is red colored notifications. This is the Instagram notification, I believe, but this isn't exclusive to social media. Other applications like text messages and the call application, a lot of applications use the red color notification, but they're so alluring because red is naturally a color that stands out to humans. So in the end, all these persuasive technology techniques are pretty good at keeping users engaged. And they literally could be the difference between someone putting down their phone or spending an hour on social media and wondering why so much time has gone by. Dr. Lemke plainly states that social media is a drug, and she cautions against the dopamine and reward systems that are built into these applications. And there are studies to back up what she is saying, and one of them is a study that was published by the Journal of Computer-Mediated Communication. And in this study, a sample size of 40 iPhone users. Okay, I know 40 isn't a substantial sample size for like any study or any conclusive findings, but it's still relevant. And so for the sake of this presentation, 40 iPhone users were asked to complete 2-word search puzzles. And while they were doing these cognitive tasks, they were separated from their phones. And when participants, were doing these cognitive tests and couldn't answer their ringing phones, the study hosts observed an increase in heart rate, blood pressure, anxiety, and a decreased sense of cognition and extended sense of self. And these are all very obvious withdrawal symptoms, hence addiction. So, unfortunately, this level of addiction is considered a success for social media companies because they are in a constant race for your attention, and they are constantly trying to build a predictive model of you that will optimize its ability to grow activity, engage the user, and monetize. So this is successful. And to wrap up this unfortunate topic, Tristan Harris, he uses a nice metaphor that I really like about how social media has evolved today, or what has evolved into. He starts explaining, what like just a simple tool, like and the example he uses is a bike. A bike is something you can have a whole lot of fun with, and you can use it to, do short distance travel, go on trails or hikes, or I guess up trails. And once you're done using the bike, you set it down, and it'll wait for you when you use it. And he conversely points out that phones are not sedentary objects that wait for you. They call you. You get invited back into that world, into that platform to get encouraged and incentivized to come back and interact with the other users on the platform. And Harris explicitly says that this social media is no longer a tool-based technology. It's an addiction-based technology, and it's extremely manipulative. And I would like to say that without the proper safeguarding on pervasive technology, things will only get worse. And like I said, this documentary was made in 2020, and so things have got, I mean, continue to evolve in a direction that achieves the business model. In 2020, I don't think shorts existed, but now we have things like TikTok's short feature has reached other social medias like YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels. So things will continue to evolve in the wrong direction unless there is some kind of safeguarding. And social media is dangerous because it is addictive, and persuasive technology is majorly responsible for that. So we need, ethics in the way we're designing social media.
Hi, my name is Matilda, and I'm going to be talking about freedom of speech. So, freedom of speech can come with good and bad effects, and some of the bad effects include misinformation. So, with the increased accessibility to information on the internet currently, everyone can post and access information at the touch of their fingertips. And most websites, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, either barely fact check information or don't at all. And other websites, such as Wikipedia, fact check their information, but untrue information can still fall through the cracks. Governments can also use social media to misinform the public or put focus on one current event. For example, Myanmar's government is using Facebook and has been using Facebook to spread misinformation to the public about a certain group of people and cause a hatred towards them, so they can justify their violence towards that group of people. And next up, we have fake news websites. Fake news websites are getting more and more prevalent. During one study, they found that there was 1,796 misinformation and fake news websites, and this is definitely on the lower end. There's a lot more, but that's the ones that they decided to study. So there are some satirical news websites that are openly satirical, but people who are not technologically savvy or who don't pay attention to these websites wouldn't realize that they're satirical. One of these websites being The Onion. The Onion posts satirical news posts, but some people have circulated them around on other social media websites, claiming that it is true, and therefore misinformation spreads that way. And freedom of speech protects these websites because although they're spreading incorrect information, they're not causing direct harm or causing people to harm others based off the disinformation. Another website would be abcnews.com.co. So people would fall for this website thinking that it's actually ABC News, but it's not the actual domain. And then we have influencers sharing information to many people at once. They can push their viewpoints and products on kids, teens, and even adults who may be impressionable. And they can sell courses and packages that are advertised to help the customer build a business or improve their mental and physical health. For example, Andrew Tate is well known to do this, and the Paul brothers, as you can see on the picture on the bottom, that's his financial freedom course. And then on the left, we have my tech best friend, and someone reviewing it, whether it's a sham or a scam. So yeah, there's more websites that are offered by creators than just this. And one person who reviewed the My Tech Best Friend said it was a complete scam. So we can see that freedom of speech isn't always great. There's practically no limit on who can post on social media. So legally, anyone over the age of 13 can post. But of course, there's ways to get around that by lying about your age or using your parents' accounts. And influencers can spread misinformation. and advertise products without verifying their quality or legitimacy. So, for example, we have Gabby Hanna on the picture, and she was caught in a scandal because she advertised brushes that were free besides for the shipping. And then people later realized that the brushes were actually from a very, very cheap website and that they could have gotten them for even cheaper, and they were falling apart once they got those brushes. We even had a case where President Donald Trump was posting on social media all throughout his candidacy and presidency, and both the Democrats and media were labeling his posts as fake news. And I'm not going to get political, but some of them were and some of them weren't. Depends. However, whether you think his posts were fake news or not, he did have a lot of access to influence others through social media. All this being said, there is some filtering done. So cyberbullying is caught and not allowed by most social media sites, so people can get banned if they cyberbully. This is because that companies are private entities and they can allow and disallow whatever they want, even if it's protected by law. And YouTube filters and restricts videos with kids in them by not allowing comments. Hate speech can be banned depending on the site, as I said, because they're private entities for the most part. And if hate speech can cause harm to other people or lead people to cause harm to others, then it does not stand under fair speech or freedom of speech.
I'm Alexander Eckert. Online user privacy refers to the ability of individuals to control access to their personal information when using the internet. We often use the internet for communications with friends and to stay in touch with family, but every time we send a message, there's a lot of other people that can potentially see it. Privacy is a major concern when it comes to the use of social media and online networking. One of the major concerns is where your data is ending up. Just because you're posting on a private Instagram account that only your friends can see, or because you're avoiding any sites that say they use cookies, doesn't mean you don't have an online footprint. Every time that you visit a website, every time that you send an email, every time that you make a credit card purchase, you're leaving a little part of yourself behind that can be viewed and exploited by companies trying to make a profit or individuals that are seeking information. Have you ever browsed for a product online and started seeing advertising for it the next day? Or, I don't know, maybe search for a YouTube tutorial to hang a picture and then got ads for wall fixtures in your email the next day? Now, while this sort of targeted advertising and collection of user data may not be concerning to everyone, it is alarming how much marketers can learn about you just from your online habits. Companies will track your activities across their platforms, record your browsing patterns, and sell that data to other companies that might be looking for someone with your browsing patterns to sell their products to. Cookies is one of the services that do this, and many sites make you agree to them before you can access their content. This means that when you agree to cookies, when you accept those permissions, you're giving that website permission to share your interests with other companies that may be able to use that to sell you their products. Cookies is only one of the many dangers that come from using the internet. Posting on social media. Posting on social media can be very dangerous if you aren't careful with what you share. There are many physical dangers that can be involved when anyone has access to the content that you post online about yourself. In fact, there are entire YouTube channels dedicated to magicians that can guess the names of your pets, tell you about your entire family, and all the information that they're coming up with is just stuff that you've posted on your social media account. Now, there are a couple of things that everyone should be aware of before they post on social media, especially if they're using a public account. First, they should make sure that whatever material is revealed in the post is not potentially sensitive to the user or anyone else involved in the post. For example, posting something that contains your address or maybe an address of a place you will be visiting soon, or saying that you're going on vacation to a particular place could be very dangerous if it's seen by a nefarious user. Also, make sure that there is no revealing information in the metadata of the images that you post. Now, this isn't a huge concern if you're using a popular social media account like Twitter or Instagram. All the metadata will be scrubbed automatically when you upload a photo or a video to one of their sites. However, if you're using another not as mainstream social media platform, or you're using your own website or just posting pictures to users on the internet, then it's possible that information like where the picture was taken, who took the picture, the name of the phone of the camera that was being used, what time it was taken, all of that information could be included in the metadata of the photo. Also, don't post any revealing information about your daily habits or any other common habits. If someone knows what you're doing every day and at what time, or knows where you'll be every weekend or something, this might put a target on your back. Finally, it should be noted that just because you delete a post from social media, that doesn't mean that it's gone for good. If this post was accessible without password protection at any point in its lifetime, it's likely that a robot service or some web crawler or some online service from the social media site or other company has collected it and stored it in an online database with other users' data. Now, while that is a serious threat, physical dangers are not extremely common as a result of social media platforms. However, there is a threat that everyone should look out for: social engineering attacks. These are another danger created by our current age of information. These attacks are becoming more and more sophisticated, more and more popular, and are finding more and more victims every year. In 2022, over $500 million was reported to the FBI just in social engineering attacks. And that's only stuff that was reported to the FBI. If there was a company that didn't want the public to know that all of their money was stolen because of a social engineering attack, then they wouldn't have reported it to the FBI. Now, all of these attacks, they could have been something like a cliche email scam that an individual fell for, or maybe something more complex involving individuals being targeted based on material that they follow on social media, other information that they unknowingly share online, posts they've made, or anything like that. Now, these attacks usually involve exploiting known information about a user to either gain their trust or create fear. Maybe they want to impersonate a family member to extort money, or create a trustworthy email that could be from a friend but has a malicious link contained at the bottom. Another example might be pictures of an individual's children included in a blackmail email demanding money, pictures that are just taken off of that user's social media account. As you can see, with access to your personal information, it's hard for malicious actors to gain your trust. It's easy for malicious actors to gain your trust or to convince you of danger, when in reality, the problem could just be avoided by ignoring it. Just because you receive an email claiming that your Amazon account balance is overdrawn doesn't mean that you should take it seriously. Just be sure to always assess the situation and make sure that the media can be trusted, or that the threat is real, or that the email you received is valid before you panic or take any drastic action. Yeah, there are many efforts that are being made to increase online safety and protect social media users. Sites are required to ask you for permission before they record what you do and share it with other online vendors. Applications that you download require you to agree to a privacy policy before you're able to use them. And laws like COPA, the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, make an effort to defend young users who may be particularly vulnerable to the dangers of online usage. Despite all these efforts that are being made to protect our online privacy, the accessibility of personal information on the internet is still a huge concern, and it's ultimately up to the users to protect themselves. Be sure to monitor the information that you share online and be aware that your personal information is always being collected. Now, you have a right to privacy. However, in this day and age, the only way to make sure that your data isn't being collected is not to use the internet at all. It's important to protect personal information from being exploited, stolen, or used without consent. With the increased amount of personal information shared online, such as people's names, addresses, phone numbers, their credit card information, protecting online user privacy has become crucial. Online users should be aware of the risks of sharing personal information online, including the social engineering and privacy violations and the collection and selling of user data and other threats that may be out there. It's essential that online companies and platforms are transparent about their data practices and that they give users the ability to opt out of having their personal information shared or sold.